Third chapter.
Third chapter. Okay. So we see in this section what we are discussing, that the sages are very keen to know about the hearer, about Parikshit Maharaj. So they are asking question about Parikshit Maharaj. And what is the character and the quality which has been mentioned of Parikshit Maharaj, which we discussed yesterday? Pradeep? See, my request is, if you are really interested to get the benefit of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, before the class, at least spend 15 minutes. If your memory does not support you, before the class, at least spend 15 minutes to revise what has been covered, so that you are tuned to what is happening. Yes, Pradeep, what was the quality and character of Parikshit Maharaj discussed?
He is the first class devotee, bro.
I will not take that. Of course, he is first class devotee. That is why he is hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. What were the qualities mentioned? Okay, Sukhdev Goswami. Sukhdev Goswami. Okay, first about Sukhdev Goswami and then about Parikshit Maharaj. Yesterday we discussed about Sukhdev Goswami also, and we began of Parikshit Maharaj. We discussed till 9th verse, 7, 8 and 9.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Your numbering has to be correct, Pradeep. If you take service, then you have to be very particular. You should write. If you don't remember, please write. Why you are taking so much of time? If you come blank faces with blank cards, then what can I do? Pradeep, please answer. You know I am focusing on you. I will not spare you. If you don't study, then what is the point in coming to the class? You don't write. Do you ever write? In last 1 month, have you given even one write-up? Unmute and speak.
No problem.
Why? You are so busy. How you will become recipient of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? We are asking you to become Parikshit Maharaj. He did not sleep for 7 nights. We cannot do that. He did not eat for 7 days and 7 nights. We cannot do that. Yeah. He did not even drink water. But at least one thing is required. Attention is required. Okay, quickly tell me, what was the quality mentioned of Sukhdev Goswami? Why there was astonishment for Sukhdev Goswami? That he stayed for 7 days and 7 nights. See, how can you relish Bhagavatam? When you don't enter into the character's qualities. Who will answer? Purushottam?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, he was a great devotee, and he was a equivalent monist, and
Yeah,
his
that we discussed day before yesterday. Yesterday, what qualities we discussed? Further qualities. See? This is the situation. Yesterday, what we discussed is not remembered. Yes. Yes, Dashil bro. Your hand came up first.
Krishna Prabhuji, Prabhuji, he was in the renounced order of life, and he doesn't stay in any grihamadi the time required for milking a cow.
Yeah. He did not spend any time extra. And what was the purpose of his coming? What was his purpose of visit to the...
Sanctify the residence, Prabhuji, to sanctify his...
To invoke Krishna consciousness in them. Simple. There was no other business. He did not come to accept their milk or their alms. He did not come for bhiksha. But he came to invoke Krishna consciousness in their heart. Okay, so we'll go ahead. Up to you, Prabhu. I mean, you see, whenever there is rain, not every land gets the same yield. It depends on the land, whether it has been prepared, whether it has been put the right seed, then only the crop will come and the harvest will happen. I have so many times told all of you, but I see very poor participation. Bearing few devotees, others are completely in their own zones. They are self-absorbed. They are deeply self-absorbed. And you see the renunciation of Parikshit Maharaj. Without being a little detached, Bhagavatam will never enter because you have no space for Bhagavatam. Your space is all filled by Ahar, Nidra, Bhaya and Maithun. There is no space for Bhagavatam. How will it enter? Okay, we discussed the 9th verse yesterday. It says that Tas Janma Mahāścharyam. His birth is also Mahāścharyam. We discussed that Krishna personally came and protected him. And Karmani cha Grihinina. Not only his birth is very amazing, his deeds, his actions are also, his activities are also the same. So what are his activities? The 10th verse. samrāṭ kasya hetoḥ pāṇḍūnāṁ māna-vardhanaḥ prāyopaviṣṭo gaṅgāyām anādṛtyādhirāṭ-śriyam samrāṭ kasya hetoḥ. So Maharaj Parikshit was not an ordinary king. He was the samrāṭ, he was the emperor. You know what is the difference between the king and the emperor? Anyone? What is the difference between the king and the emperor? Yes, Ramya?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. King is the head of one state and emperor means he can control more than many states.
Yeah, very good. Like we were discussing the emperor verse. What is the emperor verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? Anyone remembers the emperor verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? That is also called the Paribhasha Sutra. Yes, Pranav?
एते चांश कलापुंस कृष्णस्तो भगवान् स्वयं इंद्रारी विकुलम लोके मेरयन्ति युगे युगे.
Very good. Yeah, this is the emperor verse. Ete chamsh kalapunsha krishnastu bhagwan swayam. So, Shukdev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj is being, emperor is addressed here as samrāṭ. He was the king of all kings. Simple. Amongst the king, he was the king of all kings. So he was a great emperor and he was Pāṇḍūnāṁ māna-vardhanaḥ. So amongst the descendants of the lineage of the Pandavas, coming from Pāṇḍu, the sons of Pāṇḍu are the Pandavas, he was māna-vardhanaḥ. You know what is vardhan? Vardhan means one who enhances or increases. So what he increased? The man. That means their glories, their name, their fame. So he was such a capable king that he was the king of all kings. He was samrāṭ. There are many kings. Previously, there used to be many kings of provinces, of state, as Ramya said. But there used to be only one emperor. And that emperor used to be the king of all the kings. So that was called samrāṭ. That is why what we say that Lord Ramchandra was samrāṭ. Parikshit Maharaj was samrāṭ. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was samrāṭ. That means all others were subservient. All other kings, they were within the control or within the jurisdiction of the emperor. So what question he is asking, please attentively hear. Very important question, because this is one quality, if you do not cultivate, you cannot progress in spiritual life. This is what they are asking. They are not interested in their samrāṭ, but they are invoking one quality. So he is asking, sa samrāṭ kasya va hetu. And pāṇḍūnāṁ māna-vardhanaḥ. Then he says, prāyopaviṣṭo gaṅgāyām. Upaviṣṭa means from upavas. Upavas means fasting. So he was fasting. He was seriously fasting. And where he was fasting? Gaṅgāyām, on the bank of the Ganges. Anādṛtyādhirāṭ means to ignore or neglecting what? Adhirāt. Adhirat. Adhirati, you have heard? Adhirati, Maharathi. So adhirati means those who have big possessions. And śriyam means the opulences. So in astonishment, the sages are asking that he was a great emperor, who? Maharaj Parikshit, and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pāṇḍu dynasty. How? Yudhishthir was also samrāṭ. Yudhishthir Maharaj was even more in position as compared to Parikshit. But how he was increasing the name and fame of the Pāṇḍu dynasty? This is the point. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of Ganges and fast until death? Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of the world and all these seas and oceans. And Prabhupada is mentioning he was also the emperor not only of the land, but also of the water. And he did not have to take the trouble to acquire such a kingdom by his own effort. Why? Because he inherited it. He was in the lineage, so he automatically got it. Brahmaji says that, a very beautiful verse in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, that one, the law of inheritance. Jive teyo mukti pade se dāya bhāg. Dāya bhāg means that you inherit. So who inherits the opportunity to return home back to Godhead? Very beautiful verse. It says that jivanti yat mukharitam bhavadiya varta. One who is hearing. And today in our session in Bhakti Vaibhav, I'll share, maybe if today or some other day, what are the glories of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and how one can receive that glories. So what is the point in having the classes and study is to have this awakening in our heart and to develop some genuine taste for Shravanam and Kirtanam. One who is really fortunate, how to know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy has come in his heart, that he has developed taste. He has developed taste for spiritual activities, particularly Shravanam and Kirtanam. And he has developed distaste for Ahar, Nidra, Bhayamantram. That means he is on the path of progress of spiritual life. But if that is not happening, that means spiritual life is not on the right track. Very simple. So the entire process of hearing and glorifying is to invoke that rati. Na utpadet yadirati shramevahi kevalam. It is all useless labor. So he is asking that how is it that he could give up everything? This is one aspect of spiritual life, is detachment and renunciation. So we see this very exemplary example of Parikshit Maharaj, that he gave it up everything. Tyaktva turnam ashesha mandalpati shenim sada tuchvat. was a Mandalpati. He was the emperor, samrāṭ. He had everything. Every possession was his because he was the emperor. But he rejected it. He gave it up. We see in the life of all the Goswamis. Today is also the disappearance day of Srila Jayadev Goswami. Jayadev Goswami, the king of Bengal at that time, Balal Sen, he wanted Jayadev Goswami to be in his court, to be the chief poet. But Jayadev Goswami refused. Even so far, Jayadev Goswami refused that he said that if you approach me, I will leave your kingdom and I will go to Jagannath Puri. Everyone is, in his heart having this desire that when I will get name, fame, glory and recognition and reward. But one who has attraction for Krishna, he is not interested in worldly things or worldly gains. So Jayadev Goswami, when he said that he will leave, so the emperor fell at his feet, that king, and said, okay, you may stay at Champahati. Most of you know Champahati. We went to Champahati. So the astonishment is the sages. Why the sages are thinking about it? Can anyone answer? Why there is amazement in the heart of the sages? Why they are asking about the fact that Parikshit Maharaj gave up everything? Can anyone answer? Why this is of interest for the sages and the rishis? Why this question is being asked? Yes, Sonika?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Parikshit Maharaj was having all the opulences, but still he left all things. So here it is mentioned because it should be the characteristic of a hearer that he should leave all things, means all the worldly things.
No, not necessarily. No, why these sages were interested to know about Parikshit Maharaj? Why? There is a connection between the sages and Parikshit here. What is the connection? Because it is expected that the sages will be renounced, that the sages will be detached. It is expected that one who is becoming a sage or who is taking sannyas or is in the renounced order, he should be free from attachment. But they are amazed. They are extremely inspired to see the level of detachment and renunciation which is exhibited by Maharaj Parikshit. The detachment and renunciation of Maharaj Parikshit is by far much more than the renunciation exhibited by these sages. That is why he is a Raj Rishi. So this is very important. We saw, our present Prime Minister also showed the symptoms. I was very inspired to see the renunciation and detachment from all the worldly comforts and pleasure. Very important. Otherwise, this event would not have happened. It never happened for more than 1,000 years. Why it happened now? Because there was some qualified person. Very important. So what Bhagavatam teaches us when we see these examples, that worldly possessions and our attraction and our attachment to household life should be restricted. We see that he renounced everything. He could reject everything. So you should invoke a spirit of detachment in our heart, a feeling of detachment. He did not, because he did not have to take the trouble to acquire such a kingdom, because he was in the same family, the same lineage of the Pandavas, and the Pandavas had the kingdom. He inherited it from his grandfathers, Maharaj Yudhishthira and his brothers. Besides that, he was doing well in administration and was worthy of the good names of his forefathers. Consequently, there was nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. then why should he give up all these favorable circumstances and sit down on the bank of Ganges fasting till death? This is astonishing, and therefore we are all eager to know the cause. So the renunciation and detachment of Parikshit Maharaj even surpasses all the sages, and they are so keen and eager to know about this greater sage. This sage is even greater than the sages assembled there in his activities. That is why they were asking that Mahāścaryam. Tasya janma Mahāścaryam karmani cha grihini. So what is the Mahāścarya? That he was having such opulence, such opportunity. He was unquestioned emperor, but still he gave up everything. Why the pratigya of Bhishma Dev is considered to be so, high or so remarkable? There are so many sages. There are so many people who are akhand brahmachari. Isn't it? There's so many. Why Bhishma pratigya is considered to be so, stalwart? Why? Because he was within all the allurements. He was in a position where there were so many wanting and desiring to have Bhishma Dev as their husbands. And amidst all those allurements and attraction, being in the kingly palace, he still could maintain his vow. He did not go to the hermitage. That he took a vow and then he left. And he was staying in hermitage. And he was not meeting any woman. So he could maintain his vow. No. So that talks about his control and his determination. So here what is the outstanding quality of Maharaj Parikshit is coming out, that he had all the opulence. And there was no one to ask him to renounce. He was not forced, either by circumstances or situation, or he was not made to be, agreeable to anyone else. But he voluntarily gave up. So seeing his such unprecedented renunciation and detachment, even these sages are spellbound. They are struck with wonder. Mahāścarya. And they want to know more about Maharaj Parikshit. Namanti yat-pāda-niketam ātmanaḥ śivāya hīnāya dhanāni śatravaḥ kathaṁ vīraḥ aṅga dustyajāṁ yuvaiṣatotsraṣṭum aho sahāsubhiḥ. He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender. Namanti yat-pāda-niketam ātmanaḥ. So at his feet, all other kings would come and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. That is one. That was his unparalleled power. There was no one as powerful as him at that time when Maharaj Parikshit existed. Not only he was very powerful, he was full of youth and strength. And he possessed kingly opulences that were difficult to give up. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? So the sages are very much attracted to this quality of detachment and renunciation of Maharaj Parikshit. There was nothing undesirable in his life. He was quite a young man and he could enjoy life with power and opulence. So there was no question of retiring from active life. There was no difficulty in collecting the state taxes because he was so powerful and chivalrous that even his enemies would come to him and bow down at his feet and surrender all wealth for their own benefit. Because nobody had the might to face him. Maharaj Parikshit was a pious king. He conquered his enemies and therefore the kingdom was full of prosperity. There was enough milk, grains, and metals, and all the rivers and mountains were full of potency. I got a message today. Some of devotees sent me that if you receive rains in this month of Magh, the crop for wheat is there. So this rain is going to do a lot of good. The harvest is expected to be much better. This is one sign, one definite sign. In my heart, I had one inspiration that this is one sign of Lord Ram being pleased. So there will be plenty. This is what is saying, that the feel-good factor. So, if the king is pious, if the king is dharma parayan, if he is abiding by the religious principles, the nature gives in plenty, abundance. There is no scarcity. Scarcity is there because of sins, because the person is being punished by nature. So here we see what Shukadeva Goswami is mentioning, that there was abundance and plenty of everything. Milk, grains, metals, water, resources, everything was in abundance. There is no scarcity. Therefore, there was no question of untimely giving up his kingdom. The sages were eager to hear about all this. So one very important aspect of study of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is, as I said, is cultivating the spirit of detachment. The suffering in this material world is due to two prime reasons. For every suffering in this world, the reasons are twofold. First is ignorance. Ignorance of our own self, ignorance of self-realization. And the second is attachments. Attachments to temporary and flickering things of this world. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam removes the root of suffering, as we have discussed. It is adhyatma-dīpam. It is giving the torchlight of knowledge. And also it cuts our attachment with temporary things or the worldly things. How when we see the examples? Even the sages are very much struck with awe and wonder to see the detachment of Maharaj Parikshit. He was young, he was beautiful, he had all the resources, but he gave up everything. We discussed this verse. 11th verse. It is till 12th. I will try to take till 12th and complete this section. Namanti yat-pāda-niketam ātmanaḥ śivāya hīnāya dhanāni śatravaḥ kathaṁ vīraḥ aṅga dustyajāṁ yuvaiṣatotsraṣṭum aho sahāsubhiḥ. Okay, we have done this. No, not this one. He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed kingly opulences that were difficult to give up. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? There was nothing undesirable in his life. He was quite a young man and could enjoy life with power and opulence. So there was no question of retiring from active life. There was no difficulty in collecting the state taxes because he was so powerful. We have discussed this. Okay. So materially, everything was satisfactory. There was no question of untimely giving up his kingdom and life. The sages were eager to hear about all this. The 12th verse. Śivāya lokasya bhavāya bhūtaye ya uttam shloke parāyana jana jivanti nātmritam aso parashriyam mumucho nirvedya kuto kalevara. So this is the quality of Parikshit Maharaj being mentioned, that he was Śivāya lokasya. Śivāya also means, Shiv means, that is which is all beneficial, all auspicious. That is for the welfare. So what was his interest? Why did he give up? In the interest of Śivāya lokasya, for the welfare of all. And bhavāya bhūtaye, for the welfare and the development of all. And where was he taking shelter? Ya uttam shloke parayana jana. That he was devoted, he took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is glorified in the choicest word. Uttam shloke, this one word you will receive everywhere in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, because Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the choicest glorification of the personality of Godhead. So he is glorified in the best of the verses. So it is called Uttam Shlokaha. So he is Uttam Shlokaha Parayana. Parayana means one who has taken shelter or one who is devoted. So he was always dedicated for the welfare and the benefit of his citizens. And how? Because he was always under the shelter and protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are devoted to the cause of the Personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development and happiness of others. We are discussing the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So what are the qualities mentioned of a person whose consciousness is always connected with Krishna? What qualities were mentioned? Brahma Nirvanam. One quality was Brahma Nirvanam. So what was the attribute or the qualities mentioned of some person who is always connected with the transcendence? They are sarva bhuta hiterata. Labante Brahma Nirvanam Rishya Shīna Kalmasha Chindvande Yat-ātmanam sarva bhuta hiterata. So they are always sarva bhuta hiterata. So similarly we see here of Parikshit Maharaj, that Śivāya lokasya bhavāya bhūtāya. They live only for the welfare, development and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though the Emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment to worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body? So okay, so the sages are further inquiring. He's saying, okay, we can accept that he became detached. He was knowledgeable person. He was very much dedicated to Uttam Shloka Parayana, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he could give up his resources, he could give up his opulences, he could give up his kingdom. But what about giving up his own body? The maximum attachment that we have, Janasya moho ayam aham mameti. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam says that where the attachment begins, from aham. What is the self? The consideration of the self is the body. And then the attachment is anything and everything which is connected to the body, because that will give gratification to the body. In terms of deha apatya kalatra adishu, whether it is wife, whether it is children or relatives or home or possessions. So where is the connection coming from? From the body. So he's saying, okay, he could renounce everything else, but he even renounced to give up his own body. So this is a greater astonishment. This detachment is even higher than the detachment for all other possessions. Why do people spend money in hospitals and for treatment? They are ready to spend their life earnings. If somebody is diagnosed with cancer or with some disease, so what do? Their entire family spends their entire resources in trying to treat him so that he can live, he can exist. Where is the attachment? Attachment is with the body. So here the detachment is even to such an extent that he not only gave up his possessions, but he was willing to give up his own body. So they are inquiring further. So even though the Emperor Parikshit was free from attachment to worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body, which was the shelter for others? Parikshit Maharaj was an ideal king and householder because he was a devotee of the personality of Godhead. So both the qualities are coming from where? Because he has this one unflinching quality that he was a devotee of the personality of Godhead. So he was an ideal king and a householder. A devotee of the Lord automatically has all good qualities. What is the verse? Very famous verse from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Prabhupada quotes it very, very extensively. What is the verse? That one who is the devotee of the Supreme Lord, he has all the good qualities. I have also quoted it many, many times. Yes, there, Shil Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। यस्यस्ति भक्ति भगवते अकिंचन
Sarve gunas
तथा समासते सर्व
हरौ अभक्तस्य कुतो महत्त्वनः.
महत्वपूर्ण मनोरथेन धावति बहि।
So manorathena dhavati bhai. One who is on the mental platform, one who is being guided by his mind, who is seated on the chariot of his mind, manorathena. One who is guided by his desires of his mind, manorathena dhavati bhai. He is always misguided by the illusionary energy. So how can he have any good quality? So yes, yasti bhakti bhagavati rakinchina. One who is having unflinching devotion to the Supreme Lord. Sarvet just samasate sura. So he has all the good qualities, the transcendental quality. And one who is haro abhaktasya kuto mahatguna. But one who is not the devotee of the Lord, from where can he have any transcendental qualities? Why? Because he is seated on the chariot of his mind. So as a devotee of the Lord, automatically has all good qualifications, and Emperor was a typical example of this. Personally, he had no attachment for all the worldly opulence and his possessions. But since he was the king for the all-round welfare of his citizens, he was always busy in the welfare work of the public, not only for this life, but also for the next. He would not allow slaughterhouses or killing of cows. He was not a foolish and partial administrator who would arrange for the protection of one living being and allow another to be killed. So this is what the king meant, that he would take care of everyone in his kingdom, whether he be in human species of life or he be in other species of life. So Prabhupada is mentioning here that he did not allow one living being, allow another to be killed. Because he was a devotee of the Lord, he knew perfectly well how to conduct his administration for everyone's happiness, men, animal, plants, and all living creatures. He was not selfishly interested. So Prabhupada gives marked it. Selfishness is either self-centered or self-extended. He was neither. Can anyone explain? Selfishness is either self-centered or self-extended. What it means? Selfishness is either self-centered or self-extended. Please participate. self-centered and self-extended. Yes, Mother Swarup Prabhu? Boli? Yeah, I'm asking you, Mother Swarup Prabhu.
Yes, the speaker was not coming on.
Achha.
So self-centered is he thinks only about himself, and all the activities are centered around his own interest. He doesn't think of others' welfare. And self-extended is, whatever activities he does, even beyond himself, they are also ultimately for his own benefit.
Now, what it means be self-extended? What is the extension?
So, all his one is immediately for his own, and even that is beyond his own activities. There also is his own interest,
No, that will be a little more
not
clear.
for the welfare of others.
What is self-extended? Selfish is clearly defined. What is selfish? When the center is the self for one's own sense gratification. And what is self-extended? Yes, Sonika?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, when the motive is related to self-extended means our relation, means our family or our nation or something
Prabhupada
like
said
that.
skin relation, skin attachments. Skin attachments. When the interest is either for the self or self-extended is what? The family, so-called family members. So he was free from both. He did not think that what will happen to my son, whether Janmajay will be the capable king or not, should I wait or should I? So Prabhupada said he was neither. His interest was to please the supreme truth, the personality of Godhead. The king is the representative of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, the king's interest must be identical with that of the Supreme Lord. Very important. Uh, the king also means the person who is the head of the family. Yeah. Same principle applies for one who is in the family life. The king is the representative of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the king's interest must be identical with that of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord wants all living beings to be obedient to him and thereby become happy. Therefore, the king's interest is to guide all subjects back to the kingdom of God. Hence, the activities of citizens should be coordinated that they can, at the end, go back home, back to Godhead. So, one may say one is not the king, but if he has the responsible position, if he takes the responsible position, then his duty remains the same. And he has the same interest. Whatever it is, the selfish or extended, this should be the guiding principles that all the activities should be coordinated that they can go back home, back to Godhead at the end of the life. Under the administration of such a representative king, the kingdom is full of opulence. At that time, human beings need not eat animals. There are ample food grains, milk, fruits, vegetables, so that the human beings as well as the animals can eat sumptuously and to their heart's content. If all living beings are satisfied with food and shelter and obey the prescribed rules, there cannot be any disturbance between one living being and another. Emperor Parikshit was a worthy king and therefore all were happy during his reign. So I'll stop here. So this was the glorious position of the kingdom of Maharaj Parikshit. And at the helm of his glorious period, when everything was in control, everything was perfectly coordinated, he gave it up. He renounced. So this is invoking so much of interest and inspiration even in the hearts of the most renowned sages who are assembled there to hear for 1,000 years. Hare Krishna. I'll stop here. If there is any question or any contribution. Yes, Mother Swarup Prabhu.
Prabhuji, in the translation, last line,
Which verse?
how could he, 12,
Okay.
how could he give up his material body, which was shelter for others?
Yeah.
I mean, shelter for others means welfare of others, or
Yeah.
what does it mean?
Because he was a capable king. A capable king is like a father of all the citizens. And he did do that rule. He was perfectly executing the role. So he was the shelter. He was the shelter for all the citizens. So they are asking. So there is big attachment. Mahaprabhu says, na dhanam, na janam, na sundari. So there is attachment for dhanam. There is attachment for janam, lineage, king. He had both. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundari. Janam also means the followers. So he had no attachment or no attraction. He could renounce all opulence, as we discussed. He could give up all the queens and his family members, and he could also give up his followers. Very subtle. This attachment is even deeper. The subtle attachment is more deep of name, fame, and glory. Even the sages or those who are in renounced order, Srila Bhakti-Saraswati Thakur wants them that this is the biggest attachment that they have. It is the most difficult to overcome. The subtlest of attachment of name, fame, and glory, which he had profuse. Why? Because he was a capable king. So everyone was seeking shelter from him. He was the one who was providing shelter. So in such a situation, how could he give up? Interestingly, in the morning, some devotees come and they read Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in my room. They come for Mangala Aarti every day. You have seen that? You have seen that, Madhusudana Prabhu?
Yes, sir.
4 or 5 elderly devotees, they come and they discuss. So today they were discussing that Modi will leave at the time of peak. He will not continue his next term. They were in their own speculating. But this is what a Raj Rishi should be. He's dragged to death. He's dragged to his funeral or coffin, and he continues in the house or in the position. His job is done. He should move on. Because everything in this world is temporary. And what is the purpose of this body? Is to attain perfection, to return home back to God. So he is setting an example every time. That is why Krishna speaks in the 3rd chapter, when he says that one has to set the right example. Yat yat acharati sreshta tat tat eva tarojana. Yat sat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. So what an example he set. You see that the sages, 88,000 sages who were assembled there, they are also taken by surprise. They are acknowledging that the renunciation of Parikshit Maharaj is far more as compared to their renunciation. Although he was in his prime youth, he had all power, position, opulence, and everybody was seeking his shelter. Very difficult. Very difficult when you are being, projected as one who gives shelter. You are the one who is giving support. Why people don't retire from their life? Why we don't have any vanaprastha now? Because they are still feeling insecure in their heart. That they are thinking, what will happen to my children if I leave? How will they survive? What will happen to them? They are not mature. They don't have the intelligence. 50 means vanaprastha. What is the problem? The problem is that they are too attached. But he was not attached even to that. He was renounced even. So this is the question they are asking. That how much, what is the spirit of detachment and renunciation of Maharaj Parikshit? That nothing can stop him. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So this spirit should come. Actually, this is a very important topic. We should all have in our life an exit plan. How much we are going to work and after what time we should be out of this rat race of this world. Otherwise, when the final day will come, we will not be prepared. Then we have to come back. Then there cannot be any return. So importantly, all of you should have a plan. How much you are going to work. At least Krishna forced a plan upon me. I had no plan, but he forced a plan upon me. I retired at 38. Gave a professional career at 38. So what has happened? Now I am 52, almost 14 years in devotional life. Nothing is lacking. There is much more. But the fear factor, the ignorance and the attachment is so deep and heavy. So Bhagavatam addresses, it cuts the root of our ignorance by giving us the knowledge and also removing our attachments. If ignorance is removed, then attachment will be automatically released. Hare Krishna. Contemplate on the character of Maharaj Parikshit. Hare Bol. Anyone else? This is how we have to study scriptures and see the qualities of the characters. That is why they are there in Bhagavatam. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jane Ati Asu Vairagya. If one is performing bhakti, detachment is the natural outcome. Jnanam chayata hetu. Hare Krishna. I don't see any question coming. Not easy. But conditioned soul, he is thinking that his position is a comfortable position and why should I change my position? Not easy. So if the knowledge enters, then he will think about it. Most important is to become parayana. Uttam shloka parayana. As it has been mentioned here. That Parikshit Maharaj was completely surrendered. Hare Krishna, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hare Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. Please spend some 10-15 minutes every day to study Bhagavatam. This is very, very, what I should say, auspicious that we are having such discussions of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Very rare, very, very rare. It does not happen. Even our Bhakti Vaibhav, not this kind of discussion happens. They cover at least 10 to 15 verses in a session, not 2-3 verses. And not going so deeply in the purports. It is an overview, not the inside view. Hare Krishna, Śrīla Prabhupada.